Hey guys, welcome to the EJ Tech Show. I'm Soham and today on the show I'm going to be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy M32. It's the brand's latest entrant into the lower mid-range segment, starting at just 14,999 rupees. But before we get on with the show, if you are watching this video on YouTube, do consider giving us a thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe to the Editor G channel for more videos like this one. Let's begin with the design, and the Galaxy M32 certainly looks fresh, keeping in line with the new M series look that we've also seen on phones like the Galaxy F62, Galaxy A12 and Galaxy M12 as well. It's a completely plastic body and the back is glossy, so it's easy to catch fingerprints, dust and fine scratches. Being an M series device, there's no case or screen protection provided, so if you need those, you'll have to buy them separately. The color variant we received is called light blue and it sports these vertical holographic lines on the back that reflect different colors depending on how the light hits them. It's simple and not too flashy, but it's not a boring looking phone either. The phone sits pretty comfortably in the hand and weighs in at 196 grams. It's fairly slim as well and the edges are rounded to the benefit of grip and comfort. The display on the Galaxy M32 is a 6.4-inch FHD Plus S AMOLED panel with a 90Hz high refresh rate. It also gets 800 nits of brightness, so visibility in direct sunlight is not a problem for this phone. Being an OLED panel from Samsung, colors are quite vibrant and satisfying for all of your content watching needs. It's worth noting, however, that the Galaxy M32 does not get Widevine L1 certification for Netflix and only supports content playback in SD resolution. You can still enjoy HD content in apps like YouTube though, so that's good. The display also houses a U-shaped cutout for the front-facing camera, and it would be great if Samsung updates the next M series phone in this price range to adopt the latest Infinity O design. The Samsung Galaxy M32 sports a quad-rear camera setup with a 64-megapixel primary sensor, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide sensor, a 2-megapixel macro sensor, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor. Like with other phones in this price segment, the highlight of the show is that main sensor, and it produces good results. In outdoor conditions, it handles HDR fairly well and colors are punchy, although at times it fails to tone down very brightly lit backgrounds like in this picture. Shadows come through clearly and the contrast is punchy as well. The ultra-wide sensor performs as expected. There's enough detail, but there's a fair bit of distortion as well. Still, it's a handy feature to have and adds versatility to the camera setup. The same can't be said about the macro sensor, which gets quite close to subjects but doesn't produce results that look as pleasing as those from the main sensor at 2x digital zoom. Compared to those, the macro sensor produces slightly washed out images that lack that extra detail. The depth sensor does help isolate objects from their background quite well and produced some nice results. For low light shots, the Galaxy M32 is equipped with a dedicated night mode, which helps in brightening up darker areas in the image. However, it does so by also introducing a fair bit of noise and grain even in semi-lit areas that looked fine without the night mode. When it comes to videos, the Galaxy M32 can shoot at up to 1080p resolution at 30 FPS and gets a dedicated slow motion mode that shoots at 720p resolution. On the front, the Galaxy M32 gets a 20-megapixel sensor that takes decent selfies in outdoor conditions. There's a good amount of detail and the portrait mode does well to soften the background pretty accurately. Images taken indoors are nice too and don't look soft, something that's quite common with phones at this price range. The front camera can take videos at the same resolution as the rear, 1080p at 30 FPS. The Samsung Galaxy M32 houses a MediaTek G80 chipset under the hood and up to 6GB RAM, but the model we've got is fitted with just 4GB of LPDDR4X RAM. It handles day-to-day usage and multitasking without any problems, and that 90Hz refresh rate certainly makes the UI look more responsive. When it comes to gaming, titles like COD Mobile run fine with no heating issues as long as you're playing them on low graphic settings. Push them higher and you will notice some frame drops and stutters. It's possible that this issue is limited to the 4GB RAM model and the 6GB RAM variant will likely perform better. If you're a casual gamer who mostly plays a 30-minute to 1 hour long session at the end of the day, the M32's performance should suffice. It's nice to see Samsung carrying forward the trend of bringing M series devices out of core One UI, fitting them with full-blown One UI 3.1 in the case of the M32. That means you get things like Samsung Knox security, quick switch, and of course everything else that comes with Android 11. The M32 also gets Samsung Pay Mini for wireless payments on the go. It's worth mentioning, however, that no matter how much you try and avoid bloatware in the setup, there's a fair bit of it on the M32. Utility-wise, the M32 has pretty much everything you need. A 3.5mm headphone jack, a USB Type-C port, and a full-size tray with space for 2 nano SIM cards and a microSD card as well. For biometric security, there's a side-mounted fingerprint scanner that works quickly and rarely registered failed inputs. There's the signature massive 6000 mAh battery under the hood of the M32, so rest assured it will get you through a day easily, even with heavy usage and that 90Hz turned on. The phone supports up to 25W fast charging, but it's a shame Samsung only bundles in the 15W adapter in the box. This means the phone may take a while to deplete its battery, but it will take quite a while to go back up from flat to full as well, which in our testing was over 2 hours. Overall, the Samsung Galaxy M32 provides a wide variety of features at an affordable price point. If you're in the market for a good battery life, a bright vivid screen, and the performance that can handle all of that, the Samsung Galaxy M32 is a pretty solid budget buy. Up next on the show, Sahil is taking a look at the latest affordable smartphone from OnePlus in his review of the OnePlus Nord CE 5G.
Hey guys, what's up? You're watching the EJ Tech Show. I'm Sahil and this is the new OnePlus Nord CE 5G that starts at 22,999 rupees. Now, CE apparently stands for Core Edition, and that does make sense because this phone is essentially a toned-down version of last year's Nord phone. You only get the core specs over here, but at a slightly cheaper price point. This means that the Nord CE exists alongside the original Nord and doesn't outright replace it. And in this video, I'm going to tell you if the new mid-ranger from OnePlus is worth buying. But before I get into that, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The Nord CE takes its design cues from last year's Nord and hence keeps things fairly simple. You won't find a fancy camera module or any curved displays over here. It even skips out on a glass back and settles for a plastic one instead. But despite that, I think the Nord CE flaunts a classy look. My review handset is the gorgeous blue void color variant with a soft touch matte finish and shimmering purple thrown along the edges for good measure. Now let's take a look at the front of the phone. So this gets a flat screen with slim bezels on the sides and also on the top, and a slightly thicker bezel at the bottom over here. Apart from that, there is an off-centered hole punch selfie camera, which is small enough not to cause any major distractions when watching videos. Now the Nord CE 5G weighs just 170 grams and measures 7.9mm in thickness. This makes it both lighter and slimmer than the previous Nord, but the phone still manages to pack in a larger battery capacity. Overall, it's a well-designed phone that's more practical than premium looking. It's light, sleek, grippy, and more importantly, it feels very comfortable to hold in the hand. So this is somewhat of a mixed bag because surprisingly OnePlus has included a headphone jack for the Nord CE, but it has skipped out on the iconic alert slider that lets you conveniently switch between silent, vibrate and ring modes. Now this may not be a huge problem for anyone who has never used a OnePlus smartphone before, but for loyal OnePlus fans, the absent alert slider may sting a little bit. Furthermore, the phone does not have any official water resistance rating or a microSD expansion slot. There is, however, a dual SIM card tray and a single firing speaker, which does an above average job of producing decent sound output. Under the display, positioned far lower than usual, is the in-display scanner, and in typical OnePlus fashion, it's super fast. The Nord CE features a 6.43-inch AMOLED panel with 1080 by 2400 pixel resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate. Now it's not really a new display. In fact, it's almost the same display from last year's Nord, but that doesn't mean it isn't good. Colors look punchy and content watching is great, especially thanks to HDR support. The display also gets plenty bright to use both indoors and outdoors comfortably. I'm also happy to report that I didn't notice any screen tinting issues with the Nord CE, a problem that plagued the first Nord phone. Additionally, the extra fast refresh rate allows for animations to be buttery smooth, giving you a fluid experience as you scroll through information. With the Nord CE, OnePlus has upped its game in the camera department, at least over the previous Nord. The 64-megapixel triple camera system on the back does a fine job in most conditions and can usually get good shots in the dark too, although the night mode tends to make for some rather weird brightening effects, even if it means that certain parts of the image become more visible. The phone also supports 4K video recording at 30 frames per second, which is a welcome addition for a smartphone at this price point. The 16-megapixel front camera did a respectable job of capturing detail, but in some selfies the camera algorithm boosts reds a bit too much for my liking. Meanwhile, edge detection in the portrait mode works pretty well and adds a good amount of depth in the background. OnePlus Oxygen OS is on board, running on top of Android 11, and it's not been toned down in any way for the Nord CE. In fact, it's the same as the software found in the OnePlus 9 series that came before it, and as always the animations are very eye-catching, customization options are great, and the bloatware is kept to a minimum. Honestly, Oxygen OS would be the single biggest reason to buy a OnePlus phone. Its implementation with the hardware is always spot on. However, I do have two issues with the software. Firstly, the touch haptic feedback is pretty weak on this phone, and secondly, OnePlus isn't being competitive enough when it comes to software support. The company is only offering 2 years of Android upgrades for the Nord CE, whereas Samsung promises at least 3 years of full-blown Android upgrades for its mid-range phones. The Nord CE runs on the Snapdragon 750G processor and not the 765G chip that powers the previous Nord. This can be both seen as an upgrade and a downgrade, because the Snapdragon 750G features more powerful CPU cores than the Snapdragon 765G, but gets a slightly less efficient Adreno 619 GPU. But with that said, the real-world performance between the two processors is negligible, and my general usability reflects that as well. The Nord CE carries out day-to-day tasks without any issues. It's smooth, it's quick, and I didn't notice any stutters or lags of any kind. Gaming performance is also very good, as I could max out Call of Duty Mobile's graphics without noticeable frame drops. Just FYI, this is the 12GB RAM variant, so that also plays a significant role in good multitasking and gaming. I can't say for certain if the 6GB or 8GB RAM variants will provide the same level of performance. Apart from that, there's also 256GB of UFS 2.1 storage, and it's good to see that even on the base model you get at least 128GB, especially since there's no slot for microSD card. By the way, the Snapdragon 750G is 5G capable, and hence the Nord CE is very much a 5G phone. But the issue is that it gets only one 5G band in India, whereas in the UK the Nord CE gets 10 plus 5G bands. Now this could be a cost-cutting move on OnePlus's part, but the UK version of the same phone is priced very similarly, so I'm not sure why the Indian variant couldn't get more 5G bands. The 4500 mAh battery unit on the Nord performed surprisingly well. For the most part, with light to heavy usage, I'd finish the day with something like 45% of juice left in the tank. When it comes to charging, the 30-watt fast charging didn't really wow me, mainly because companies like iQOO and Realme are offering faster charging technologies in this price segment. But at 30 watt, it's still fast enough and got the phone from 0 to 65% in just half an hour. Okay, so verdict time: should you buy the new Nord CE 5G or not? Well, if you already purchased the first Nord, then stick with that, because it offers slightly better specs and happens to be available in a similar price range. But if you are new to the OnePlus brand and every penny counts, then the Nord CE is a great starting off point. Bottom line, it's a well-balanced phone that doesn't break the bank. Anyway, I hope you like this review, but I seriously suggest you keep watching, because up next Deepat gets you his first impressions on the new Battlegrounds Mobile India game. He's got his hands on the early access beta, and he has a lot to talk about.
It's finally here. Battlegrounds Mobile India is out in early access beta, and it's already been downloaded over 5 million times. So what's the gameplay like? How similar is it to PUBG Mobile? Is it any good? In this video, we'll tell you all the details. But before I get into that, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Battlegrounds Mobile India is the completely new India-specific Battle Royale game made by Krafton, which is a South Korean company, except it's basically the same game as PUBG Mobile. In fact, it's exactly the same game on the whole, but there are a few important changes, so let's get into those first. When you start up the game for the first time, it shows a disclaimer saying that Battlegrounds Mobile India is not a real-world based game, but a survival simulation set in a virtual world. It then asks you if you want to download HD resources, which take up more space, or non-HD resources, which are smaller in size and offer smoother performance. You're given the option to log in with a Twitter, Facebook, and at least on Android, a Google Play Games account. You can then create your character and choose a nickname, after which you're in. The game then shows another pop-up saying that it is for users in India only and asks if you're located in India. Although I have no idea what happens if you do try to access it from outside India. Then the game asks if you want to transfer your old account from PUBG Mobile. Yes, you can bring in all the items, skins and stats from all those years and possibly rupees that you spent on PUBG Mobile. However, this only works if your previous account was linked to either Facebook or Twitter. You can sign into these social networks and Krafton claims your account will then be migrated to the new app and stored in servers in India or Singapore. This service is only available until December 31st, 2021. It then asks if you're above 18 years of age but doesn't prompt for any sort of verification if you select yes. After that, there's a short tutorial on how to equip items and then you're all set up to fire up your first game. Battlegrounds Mobile India is very intent on letting you know that this game is not real. Just in case you were confused. In the pre-match lobby, you again get a pop-up message saying that this is a virtual simulation and a voiceover message repeating the same information, like this.
This is a simulation game set in a virtual world and does not represent real life.
Even when you jump out of the plane, there's a text at the bottom saying, enter the virtual world. You know, just in case you forgot again. Another major change is that the blood is now green instead of red. So if you shoot someone, they drop green blood. If you hit someone with a pan or your fist, they drop leaves from their body for some reason. This is a really weird effect. Keeping with the theme of general violence censorship, you no longer kill other players, you finish them. Which makes complete sense because no game that has the word finish in it could possibly ever be violent.
Finish him!
So much for all the new stuff, but what about the old PUBG action that you've missed for so long? What about the maps, the arena mode? Did all of that make it in? Well, good news, it's all here. Battlegrounds Mobile India has pretty much all of the maps PUBG Mobile did before it was banned. You have all the Battle Royale maps, namely Erangel, Miramar, Sandhawk, Karakin and Livik, and you also have many arena maps like Hangar, Town, Warehouse and Ruins. Again, it's all here. In Arcade, the War, the Quick Match and Sniper training modes all make a comeback as well. The game also already has a Royale Pass available for purchase and the content is at parity with Season 19 of the global PUBG Mobile. Apart from a few cosmetic changes I talked about earlier, Battlegrounds Mobile India plays exactly the same as PUBG Mobile. So there's no relearning of skills or map layouts or even weapon metas required, everything is exactly as you left it. If you were a pro at PUBG Mobile, you're still going to be great here. If you weren't that great, like me, you're not going to suddenly turn pro, unfortunately. In terms of performance, Battlegrounds Mobile India behaves very similarly to PUBG Mobile. I tested the game on 3 devices, the Galaxy S21, the Oppo F19 and the Infinix Hot 10 Play. Now the Galaxy S21 is a flagship smartphone and the experience is beautiful as you would expect. The game looks fantastic with all of the graphics turned up and it can even take advantage of the 120Hz screen to push the FPS beyond 60 for a truly smooth and satisfying experience. But even on the Oppo F19, which has a Snapdragon 662 and is not exactly a gaming phone, the game runs really smoothly. It automatically chooses the graphics settings best suited to the phone and runs without any hitches. If you have a mid-range phone, you will not be at a competitive disadvantage at all. On the Infinix Hot 10 Play, which is a budget smartphone, the game does run choppy, but it does run. It's not an optimum experience, but it is very possible to play Battlegrounds Mobile India on a budget phone. PUBG Mobile was a very important game to a lot of people. People spent a lot of time and money on it, made friends using it, and used it to de-stress and have a bit of fun. So it's really nice to see Battlegrounds Mobile India bring the same familiar experience back to Indian users. If you loved PUBG Mobile and really missed it after it was gone, Battlegrounds Mobile India is basically everything you could have ever asked for.